not just teaching them talent, but teaching them how to be leaders, teaching them how to take care of themselves, and then teaching them how to show up in their communities and take care of their communities. If you just focus on problem solving, entrepreneurship will evolve on its own. People follow vision. Money follows vision. And so I never did it because I wanted to earn a check. I mean, that just came. So we're delving more into ideas like that so that they get accustomed to their workforce, not just necessarily being only human, but now being robots, because we're literally already there. So I don't look for anybody in particular other than someone says that I want to try a new business, or I want to learn something new, or I want to be a part. Like I don't have criteria that we look for.
Hello, Team ET. It's a pleasure to be back with you again this week. Have you ever met someone that you're immediately drawn to, and then you find out more about that person and what they do, and you become in awe of them? I've had the incredible privilege to connect with some fairly amazing people through my career. As you can see, I'm very grey, so it's a long career. Heads of countries, heads of mega corporations, leading global influencers, and more recently through this business and the projects that we run. And I continue to be inspired and amazed by those people that I meet. And today is another of those moments as we have the opportunity to chat with Miss Tamaira Sandifer, or perhaps better known to her followers and her supporters as Miss T, the founder of Studio T Arts and Entertainment in Sacramento in the US. So Tamaira, welcome to the ET Project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you on. I've been blown away in my research just looking at everything that you're doing. And first of all, I have to say, as a global community member, I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing with young people. You know, even though you're primarily states-based at this stage, you've recently started supporting youth around the world through one of your platforms, and we'll talk more about that. But your organization is playing what appears to be such an important role. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. We certainly are trying.
You probably don't remember, but during our first conversation, I asked you how you managed to fit everything in that you're doing and get it all in your schedule. And your response has really resonated and stuck with me. You said, when you're passionate and believe in what you do, then you make the time to make it happen.
You're right about that.
Yeah. And I felt through that simple response that I probably have met somebody quite unique. So I was very keen to dig deeper and find out a little bit more about you. But as it turns out, it seems that just by the sheer volume of awards and recognition that you've received, that I'm not the only one that feels that way. There's many people and organizations that share my view, and you've been acknowledged at such high levels during your career.
Yeah, it's truly an honor. Like it's nice when your peers or when, your industry, celebrates your life work.
Right.
It's not something that we necessarily look for, but it's definitely something that we're grateful for when you can get some level of endorsement that says your hard work is paying off. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And some of them, we might touch on them later, but some of them are very high level. So very nice. Perhaps we could start, for the listeners' sake, if you don't mind, and you could introduce what Studio T is all about and what you do there.
Oh, certainly. So Studio T started as just a hip hop and urban dance academy. And we found very quickly, once we started Studio T Dance, that our kids, especially the kids that we were servicing in more trauma informed and under-resourced and tech-starved communities, they needed more than just dance.
Right.
And so we started adding things. So Studio T Dance became Studio T Arts and Entertainment. And that encompasses anything from definitely the performing arts. We still do a great deal of that, but also media, culinary arts, music. That's anywhere from beat making to bucket drumming and entrepreneurship. And then we added a social services component because a lot of our kids have to make the very difficult decision. Do I eat today, or do I, buy toothpaste? And I just felt like, people shouldn't have to make those sorts of choices. So we added social services to what we do. So it gives a holistic approach to our young people, not just teaching them talent, but teaching them how to be leaders, teaching them how to take care of themselves, and then teaching them how to show up in their communities and take care of their communities. And once we started to couple all of those things together, we started to see some outcomes that, shifted not only the trajectory of our kids' lives, but also the financial standings of families, which impacted their communities, which impacted our city. And so a lot of leadership started to take notice and support what we were doing. But the
Mm.
ultimate goal is truly to invest in the whole child and their parents so that our families have a legitimate shot at a better life.
Wow, truly amazing. I know, like many people, including myself, the starting point wasn't where you are now.
No,
And
no.
perhaps if you don't mind, you could introduce a little bit about your earlier life as much as you're comfortable with, and how you found your inspiration.
Yeah, certainly. Well, a lot of these kids are like the kids that I grew up with,
Mm.
when I was a kid. So, I'm from a part of California called the Bay Area, and that's like Oakland, Richmond is where I grew up. And those communities, I grew up in the height of the crack cocaine epidemic. So we were losing a lot of young people to the drug wars and gangs, and we were losing a lot of our parents and adults in the community who
Mm.
fell prey to the substance of crack cocaine. So they were dying because they were overdosing or, over consuming.
Yeah.
And so growing up that way, it really created a kind of community that, we didn't know who was going to show up to school the next day. And so we were very intentional about being protective of one another. And, community aunties started to present themselves, community grandmas, not necessarily blood related, but, we became our brother's keeper,
Right.
just to survive the circumstances that we were all forced to grow up in. I mean, just growing up in a community where it had systemic lack of opportunity. So my generation wasn't the first generation to have the experience of
Mm.
lack by way of opportunity. And so, growing up that way, it built something in me that said, I am my brother's keeper. And I started teaching, my mom's a single mom. She had 6 kids. And one of the ways that we were able to stay occupied in something positive was I would teach dance. And so we, see what Michael Jackson was doing on the music videos. We would see what, Janet Jackson did on the award show. And then I would take the moves that they did and I would teach them to my siblings and other kids in the community. And I just became known, even though I was violently shy,
Mm.
I became known as the one who does the dance. And that just kind of stuck with me my whole life. So fast forward a bit in 1999, I was, married with 2 little girls, and we were living in a part of the city that you just couldn't afford to find something nice and safe. We were living
Right.
in what we could afford, which put us in a really bad part of town. And so we were looking to have a better lifestyle. And so we relocated to the capital of California, Sacramento. And I was able to afford to, have a home, and my kids had a safe place where they could play outside and not be concerned with things like stray bullets. And once I got here to Sacramento, it's a very conservative city. And so I was looking for some of the culturally rich programs that we were accustomed to in the Bay, and I couldn't find them. So I just started volunteering. I would go to churches, urban housing authorities, community
Mm.
centers, anywhere where people would let me do it for free and work with the kids. And I found very quickly that I had found my niche. And I started out, at a park. There was 4 kids, and they were my daughter's friends at the time. And it grew very quickly to 30, and then before you know it, there were 70. And we started doing things like competitions and performances, and they started winning awards at international competitions, national competitions. It's like, oh my goodness, we're on to something. And then
Mm.
they started to break into Hollywood. We used media to leverage the playing field a bit, because our families didn't have the money to pay for a flight to go to Hollywood to audition, but I could capture a video and send it to a casting director. And so,
Wow.
my breakout started working with Britney Spears in the height of her career, Jennifer Lopez, Selena Gomez, Usher, and Chris Brown. And the list is very long. And then we had a So You Think You Can Dance winner, during the peak of So You Think You Can Dance. And so again, I knew very quickly I was onto something when that started happening back to back. And so, when you talk about grassroots is, there's a problem. And I teach this to my young people all the time. If you just focus on problem solving, entrepreneurship will evolve on its own. People follow vision. Money follows vision.
Mm.
And so I never did it because I wanted to earn a check. I mean, that just came. I did it because there was a problem with the kids, and it was the same problem with me and my siblings and my peers as kids. There was a systemic lack of opportunity, but once opportunity was gifted to them, they really took it and started flying with it. And so that told me, okay, you've got the recipe. Now we need to duplicate the recipe so that we can have more little birdies flying from the nest. And that's what we've done.
Well, that's an incredible story. There's so many tangents that come to mind that we could talk about. I just wanted to mention I wore my Stanford shirt just for you today.
I see you. So
and
cool.
and a geography lesson for many of the people outside of America, I guess.
Sure.
Sacramento, the capital of California. Now, most people, I'm guessing, would say, if I asked that question to my listeners, they'd probably say LA, but
Yes.
Sacramento. Right.
That's why I said it. We're the capital, baby.
Very nice, very nice. So the formation of Studio T came about as a result of everything you introduced. It sounds like it took off very rapidly, and now you're moving into, or you've already moved into, a new building called the Innovation Factory.
Yes.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
The journey itself, like all businesses, I'm sure you've had challenges.
Oh my goodness, valleys for sure. Peaks and valleys.
How do you stay, and probably back to my original comment, but how do you stay motivated throughout all of this?
Because none of this is an option.
Right.
Like none of this, what I'm doing is not designed to motivate T.
Mm.
I know why I'm here.
Okay.
And I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And what I'm doing has nothing to do with how I feel, but everything to do with who I am and who I was created to be and how I was positioned to serve people. So
Wow.
there's nothing that in this that is my motivating factor. I'm the motivating factor for every young person I touch, every parent that I come in contact with. So I keep that in mind. They're not here to please me. I am here to serve them. And it's only when you forget that you expect that there's something that's supposed to be inspiring you to do what's right. And I never, ever make that mistake. I do what's right because I do what's right. Not because someone is doing something or saying something or even acknowledging the something that I'm doing. I'm motivated because I know why I'm here. And as long as I keep showing up every day to be myself in somebody else's life, it shifts the trajectory of somebody's life. And that all by itself is worth waking up every day.
It's just an incredible journey. You introduced very briefly some of the programs that you offer through Studio T. I wonder if you could go a little bit deeper on some of the things that you're doing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly. So our performing arts program is, all things dance. So it's not just dance in a traditional dance studio space. It's also virtual dance classes, which exploded us across the country during COVID. It's also, platform-based, subscription-based performing arts where our kids can learn at home. And we do a great deal with our dance by way of mental health and well-being. That's one of the things that we do with our families that kind of keeps them mentally and emotionally stress-free, and it builds community for us. So we do a lot of dance. I also founded a dance day for the state of California. So California's Day of Dance is the second Saturday in April every single year. And that's another community activator. So we build a lot of community through dance and movement. We also have our media arts program. We have an entire media department. So they do anything from videography, photography, graphic design, social media content creation and management. And all of those things really super helped our young people by way of being expressive, especially when they were going through really difficult times. So the storytelling piece that comes through media has been just critical for getting our kids on the other side of the pandemic, for getting them on the other side of some of the traumas that they experience is just by living the life that they're forced to live. And so media has been huge. And now we've scaled it where we have corporate partners. So now they're learning
Right.
entrepreneurship through their media arts. And then I founded a film festival to honor one of our young people that we lost to suicide, the Maloba Fest. And so it also gives our young people not just the opportunity to create content, but also have their content evaluated by, professionals in their craft that work with shows like the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards and the Emmys and the Grammys and the Oscars. And then, we share it with community, people vote on it, they evaluate it. And then we even in our innovation factory, we have a movie theater. So we give them the full experience from creation to preview to, putting it out in the world for evaluation. And then our music arts program, that's anywhere from beat making to DJing. I mean, we have little 5-year-olds, doing turntables and making their own beats, which is a critical thing. If you think about everything that corporate America needs when they're doing content creation, they always need music, royalty-free music or licensed music that they can buy to make their content dynamic. And our kids create that. In addition to doing community building events like parties and pop-ups and parks, our kids show up and bring the music and the fun. But we don't just use technology to make music. They even do bucket drumming, and that's just like a paint bucket turned upside down with some drumsticks. That's how I learned, and so that's how they learn, and it worked for me.
Yeah.
And so that's music. And then we added our culinary arts program, and we did that. Well, technically it's called our Meal Prep Academy. It's because we had a lot of young adults, especially during the, the shutdown, that didn't have the ability or capacity to sustain if they weren't Uber eating and welcome to McDonald's, may I help you? And so we had to teach things like meal prep and how to, grocery shop on a budget. And so that created a whole program, not just for our young adults, but our littles. So now we're starting them at a younger age where they're so used to swiping and consuming visually, but the hands-on piece is, most time parents, especially if you're in a single parent household, you don't have time to teach those things anymore. The times have changed. And so we come in as a supplemental provider. And then our kids, especially if they're in a single parent household, they're able to help mom prep a meal. So by the time mom gets home, she can, they can all eat together, and she doesn't have the stress, the pressure to just be the only sole person in the household doing the meal prep and providing. And it's easy stuff, and the kids absolutely love it. And then we also have a full commercial kitchen on our campus. It's a very large, a 2-story full commercial kitchen. So should our kids show some aptitude in their culinary abilities, they have a pathway to turn that into a career. And that goes the same with our music program. We have music producers that work with anybody from, Snoop Dogg and Missy Elliott. And so our kids have a pathway. The same with our dance. The kids have a pathway. So everything that we're doing by way of programming on site, it's coupled with entrepreneurship. And then there's a feeding lane for them to be able to go into a career if they choose. And we have podcast studios. So again, they're able to produce their own content. We have multiple podcasts. We even have a broadcast kitchen where they can stream their cooking. We have dance studios, multiple. Again, we have a movie theater, banquet halls, rec rooms, you name it. And it's multiples of everything so that we can really truly service thousands of young people in the course of an academic school year and train the trainers that work with these kids.
I'm almost ready to buy my ticket and hop on the plane.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, that's just in Sacramento. We're in San Diego also. We're in Fresno, and we're scaling to Tulsa, Oklahoma, Philadelphia, Harlem, New York, and Atlanta, Georgia. So this thing is pushing its way physically. Before it was virtually, now it's physically popping up across the country. And we couldn't be more excited about, just being able to really super serve.
It's fantastic. You also have a business or a side, a thing called the Side Hustle Academy.
Yeah, that's our entrepreneurship. That's side hustle. Absolutely. Absolutely. So everything we do is coupled with entrepreneurship, everything.
Okay.
So we never teach them a creative discipline without teaching them how to monetize their skill set. So everything has entrepreneurship attached, side hustles attached to everything.
And you said monetize, so you have a financial education built into this.
100%. In fact,
Yeah,
today, so we do summer camps too with kids. And
right.
today we did a whole budgeting, the kids earned their money, the paper money. And then we activated, you taught them budgeting. This is how much you have to spend. This is how much you want to save. This is how you can earn. And
Right.
so they were able to activate those things. And then again, we have a movie theater. So they went to the movies and they had to buy their own snacks. And you had the ones that I want to spend all my money because I need more popcorn. And then you had the ones who's like, no, we're coming back next week. I'm saving $14. So they're starting to learn those things. And then for our younger, teenage and then young adults, for them, it's actual stipends. They get stipends when they come with us and they learn things and they're on the job and they're not, assisting us in the day-to-day business of things, just so that they can learn, okay, here's this amount of money, but you're getting a remuneration for your efforts that you're putting in. And then we teach them, okay, so now you have choices. You can either rent some space and start building out your own entrepreneurial endeavors, or you put this in the bank, don't touch it. Most often they want to go get some shoes and eat out and things like that. But we're constantly grooming them and educating them to think business, to think budget, to think multiplication, to think, how can I take this $600 stipend and double it? Just by making business cards, putting flyers out and booking clients and using the innovation factory to execute some of the learning that I did and make money on it. And we have a hair shop. That's another thing. So we
Wow.
teach them, they could come in and do hair. We're dealing with tons and tons of kids and they always need their hair done. We shoot tons of videos, lots of dance shows. They
Mm.
always need their hair and makeup done. So again, entrepreneurship is everywhere, especially as a single entrepreneur, but also in respect to building a team. So let's say, for instance, you're a makeup artist. You have a media person, you have a music person, you have a video person, and you have a dancer. So you're doing this but all of a sudden you can make this concept video for TikTok promoting the fact that you do makeup. And so all the people parts are there. And now they're working with other like-minded, like-spirited, and like-learned other talents. And it's all under, the auspice of Studio T Arts and Entertainment. It's really designed to create entrepreneurs who win.
You plant that seed, the lights go on, and I can imagine how it takes off.
And off they go.
And off they go, which is fantastic. If I'm driving down the road in Sacramento and I see the Innovation Factory, is it a walk up? I just walk in the
Absolutely.
front door and
Yep.
I come in and
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
very
Yep.
nice. How much, I know you mentioned technology with or without, but how much is technology integrated into everything you're doing at the moment, like virtual reality,
Oh, certainly.
AI? Yeah.
Critical. It's critical. So we use AI quite a bit, and we use
Mhm.
that by way of, the script writing. If you're going to simplify it, that's helpful. Document tracking, and then thought processing. Sometimes we don't have the time to do the research required to build the model required in order to execute a new program. AI
Right.
helps us with that. But we also have other kinds of technology like three-dimensional projection. So we have instructors that can come in from other parts of the country and drop in dimensional form into a classroom and teach kids something from their country. And that's again another leveraging agent for us for cultural, experiences. Some of our kids are not going to go to Ghana, but they can work with someone who's in Ghana in their space. And they're not only learning like dance and creative movement, but they're also learning the technology needed in order to get this person in the auspice with them. And then they're also learning, the cultural norms, they say mate, we say friend. And so they're learning that, it's still English, but it's their English and our English. And so technology plays a massive role. Just
Mm.
a innovation factory like this, we've created multiple jobs for young people in IT, like just getting things wired, making sure there's
Yep.
Wi-Fi, troubleshooting, surveillance cameras, broadcast cameras. Tech is so huge. And
Yeah.
then doing something like having, huge fiber optic pipes that terminate right here at this building just because of the amount of data that we transfer with just our video. And then you think about the cameras and the systems that we need. We have partnerships with Blackmagic and Sony just because technology changes every single day. And then
Yes.
we give our kids, we're delving a bit into robotics just because of the level of, maintenance and upkeep that we have to do around the building. We have to hire people to come in and paint. How come we can't have robots that can come in and do our painting for us, and our kids are the foremen and oversights and the programmers of these painting robots? So we're delving more into ideas like that so that they get accustomed to their workforce, not just necessarily being only human, but now being robots, because we're literally already there. So that's a teaching that we do. And then of course there's, there's the coding, and we build our computers, some from scratch, our PCs. So, those sorts of things, number one, it keeps us agile, but it also helps them to develop portfolios that make them competitive when they go to look for real paying jobs. They can say, I've had hands-on experience building this. And that's not normal. Typically, you get internships after college that give you the experience they get from the factory.
It's such a massive operation, and as you're talking, I can just, the lights are going on in my head as you're talking with everything that could fly, dovetail off of the things that they're doing. What is your staff level like? I can imagine with all of these different aspects that you're offering, you must have a reasonable sized team.
Yeah, well, I mean, reasonable for us. We're small but mighty. So there's about 28 of us, and we go anywhere from the top of California to the bottom and across the country. And really, truly, a good percentage of them were groomed from the program. So we have young people that started, in program with us when they were 12. They're like 28 now, and they're running national programs. So we have some that have been groomed from inside, and then the ones that we've added or ones that we've watched or known or had some level of development or investment in them, but not, as in depth as others. And then we bring in the experts, that top layer where, now I'm not the only one mentoring. We have other experts that are on site that are mentoring with me. And then we have people that we bring in specifically for their core expertises. So they're a little more on the peripheral side of things, but they're connected to me in that they're helping me drive this thing up and forward while, my staff is making sure that all the buttons are pushed and all the levers are pulled. And so it's a pretty remarkable thing, the team building piece. People ask me, how come you work with so many young adults? And I've worked with adults in the past. And the challenge sometimes in working with adults is they won't take a leap with you.
Right.
And, working with my young adults, especially ones that I've groomed in the program, they don't know how not to leap, because that's all we do is leap. And so I'm super intentional about, hiring people that have the capacity to be courageous, because I know what we're doing in some of the communities that we show up in. It's not easy, and it's not for people that are faint of heart. It requires you to be brave and adventurous. And I can honestly say that we've built a team that possesses that greatly and expresses that greatly, which is how we're able to do what we do.
If people are listening to what you're doing and would like to be involved, are you open to people offering their support?
100%. 100%. So we have a lot of, partners. We call them partners because this is definitely a team effort and a global team effort at this point. And, that's anywhere. Sometimes people don't have time, but they have money. And so they give us the money that we need to make sure that we have SD cards and, snacks. And, again, I have a hair shop, and there's specific products that you need for specific hair types. And so making sure that we have the right partners that just give us money, that's always tremendously helpful. The other thing is, we ask people to advocate with us for stuff like this being available in all communities. So we have a lot of people that are very strong voices on behalf of the efficacy of what we're doing. And then we have people that come alongside us and volunteer. Again, we have statewide events, national events, we have local events, city events, and then we have classes every day. And so having people that'll just come in and, hold a hand or wipe a nose or, fold some paper or paint a picture, all of that stuff is so super helpful. And so we have a very, very robust base of volunteers who are just super good to us.
Yeah, it takes an army.
It does.
Yeah, it's fantastic. How did you pivot during COVID? I imagine you had to pivot, or were you
Yeah, I
already very
did.
virtual?
I did. So everything we did prior to COVID was all in person.
Mm.
And And I was sitting in my office, and, I'll give a biblical reference because that's really truly what happened to me. And I felt like Job, when, your
Mhm.
children died, your house burned down, this, he was getting hit one thing after the other after the other. So I'm sitting in my home office and I'm getting call after call, like we're canceling this contract. We're sorry, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Everything's shut down. And so I'm sitting in my seat and I'm just saying, I literally said, oh my God, like, what do I do? Like, everything I do is in person. What do I do? And like a lot of people, you have the instant where you go into survival mode. And so I get up from my desk at my home office, and I'm heading to the kitchen because, that's what you do sometimes when you're stressed out. You go, I need a sandwich.
Open
And
the
so
fridge. Yes.
I go to the kitchen and I take one step over the threshold of the door and I get a download. And the voice inside of me says, it's in times like this that millionaires are made. And so I went back to my desk so I could explore that idea. And I said, Great Depression, who became a millionaire? And you start learning companies like Ford and
Mm.
Hershey. And I'm like, okay. And so I study more, the famines, the recessions, I want to know who capitalized on what looked like an international disaster. And there's a lot of people that came out on top because they were willing to be agile and
Right.
not set in a way. And so once I was able to, connect dots, I remembered that I had an online learning platform that I built in 2017 to help out a school district that didn't have any money. I was going there once a week, and the kids would behave better because I would go there and give them this thing that they absolutely loved. And so the teacher said, is there any way that you could come more than once? Can you come every day? And I was like, no, I can't come every day. I'm one person. And so
Mhm.
anyhow, she says, well, do you have a DVD that shows you how far back this was? And I said, and I didn't tell her no. I said, give me 1 week. And so I went home, and, I had a cell phone and I had a stack of books. And so I put the cell phone on top of the books, and I would record myself making all these teaching videos. And then I built a platform to house them all. And so
Okay.
I kept feeding it over time, but it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing that I thought like, oh, I could do something with this, because I didn't know
Mm.
people did. This is during a time where people didn't do streaming,
Yeah.
dance classes and things like that. And so I was a little ahead of the curve. And then, the pandemic happened, and I'm sitting there and I said, okay, it's times like this, millionaires are made, and what can I do? And I remembered past a class. And so I reached out to, our teachers, and I just said, hey, I just want you to know this thing is sitting here. I know the schools are shutting down. That's very bad for some of the kinds of kids we work with. You're going to need something to bridge them back to school, because they're
Mm.
not going to want to come back once you teach them how to not be there and still learn.
Yes.
Normally schools get paid for butts in the seats. Well, bottoms weren't in the seats during COVID. So now the school districts were responsible for being engaging and entertaining in a way that the kids want to come to school. So
Mm.
the power and the influence shifted. It went from the teachers and truancy, and you're going to get in trouble if you don't come to school. Now it's like, we have to be clever and creative to make you come back to school.
Right.
And so one of the ways that they were able to bridge during that almost 3 year downtime was past a class. The kids loved the videos, and it made school cool. And so, this teacher talked to this teacher who told this teacher who told this teacher. And then before you know it, I'm getting calls from educators, entire counties from other states. Can we have a license to pass the class? And so very quickly I had to figure out, how do you license this? Like, I built it as a free thing to help some people. I didn't know people did it. And so again, very quickly, and with the help of a mentor, we were able to come up with licensing agreements. And then we just exploded across the country. We went from servicing, 5,000 local youth on a good, strong academic year to over 200,000 students and their families across the country. And to say that, it was a bit of a tsunami would be an understatement. But
Mm.
it helped me to see the value in what we had been doing for 20 years, to see it nationally embraced and then used, and then it was a necessity, and then watching so many other people adopt the idea. But we were just ahead of the curve.
Yeah, incredible. And I believe now you're going global with this as well.
Say that again, please.
I believe you're going global. You're moving outside
Oh,
the
100, yeah,
States. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So we've already begun that process, and then we'll be physically expanding, starting with Ghana. So we'll be in
Wow.
Ghana, in Africa. Mhm. Yeah, I
Very
think
nice.
Australia is our next stop.
There's so much happening. I would like to spend a week with you and just observe
Oh,
everything that's going on. I'm sure there's so much we could learn.
yeah,
You mentioned earlier about a lot of people have become success stories. Could
sure.
you? And one of my shows, I think we spoke about when we first connected. One of the shows I like is So You Think You Can Dance,
Yes, yes,
and you
yes.
had some early success with that. I wonder if you could share some of those stories.
Oh, sure. So, our So You Think You Can Dance winner is a young man named Keita the Great. And I started working with his older brother and older sister. He was only 4 years old when I met him.
Hmm,
And technically, my sister met him first, and they were outside in front of a grocery store. And his oldest brother is deaf, but he wanted to dance. And so, in order for me to teach him, I had to go back to school to learn his language, which was sign language. And so, my sister saw him, and he had earplugs in his ears, like he was listening to the music and dancing with the music, because he didn't want people to know that he was deaf. And
right.
so my sister saw him dancing and she said, "You need to meet my sister." And so, shortly after that encounter, they came to my studio, and then I started studying his language and started working with them. And then one day we're in the classroom and I'm training. I'm a tough coach because they have to survive in a tough world.
Yeah.
And I'm watching in the back of the classroom everything the big kids are doing. This little guy, this little 4-year-old little guy in the back of the classroom is doing, he's not doing anything big. But his syncing, he was well synced. He knew the movement. He knew what
Right.
to do with all the different parts of his body. And I said to his mom, okay, everybody's leaving, class is over. And I said, you need to leave him here starting next week. I need to see him every day. And she says, Miss T, he's going to cry. I said, he'll get over it. I'm telling you, you need to leave him with me every day. Every time you drop them off, you drop him off. And then, it was within months. I trained him like I trained the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and he could take it. And so I said to her, I said, I just want you to know this kid's special, and I know it when I see it, and he has
Right.
it. And so I would give his brother and his sister assignments, make sure that, Keita knows this when you guys come back, work with him at home. I want to make sure that, so I gave the family the responsibility of developing him with me. And so, we started putting him on the circuit, and I was mildly nervous because he was so young. I didn't want it to corrupt him.
Mm,
He had a genuine gift. And so we started putting him on the circuit, and, I'm telling, friends and colleagues in the business, I say, I got one, like, yeah, I got one for you. And I remember going through a very difficult time. I was going through a divorce. I was, in 2012, 13, I had, lost my second building, and I was really in a process and a time of restructuring
right.
personally. But I remember, not having very much money, but putting every nickel I had into flight tickets for him and his mom to go do this one competition where I had invited a talent scout out, um, because he needed an agent. And
Hmm.
so, but we had to get him to them. And so I put every nickel I had into this kid and his mom to get him out to Arizona. And what happened is what I thought would happen. He blew them away, and he got his agent, and then he made a video just sitting in the lobby of the dance studio. It's him and two other little guys, and they're just passing the wave. They're waving and passing the wave. And somebody just took out a phone and said, "Oh my gosh, look at these kids!" And then he went viral with that one video. And so then, at the age of 7, 8, 9, he's just all over the place dancing and performing, him and his two buddies that he met in the lobby of a dance studio.
Wow.
And then shortly before he went on So You Think You Can Dance, his dad passed away. We had a whole epidemic that hit, the States called the swine flu. And
Hmm.
his dad actually got it, and we lost him. And, for some people that could open the door to depression and destruction. But for whatever reason, it made him even more determined to win. And so he auditioned for the show. He had the story to match the time.
Right.
which was losing his dad and then being, perseverant in his efforts. And then when he got on the show, I mean, he did everything, all the different disciplines. Some of them he'd not been trained in, but he earned it, and he showed everybody that he was brave, that he was courageous, and he had heart. And no matter what life threw at him, he was going to fight and win, and he did. And what it did was, it didn't just shift his life, but his mom, single mom, 7 kids, it shifted all of their lives. They
Yeah.
have a better home, they have a better lifestyle, they have different incomes, they all have jobs as a result of this in the industry. But it started with one little kid, and I won't take credit for somebody else's talent, but I will say that, meeting him and then having the experience of him and his family, it taught me a lot. That was
Mm.
one of the things that cemented my why is, this family has had blow after blow after blow,
Right.
and, they just need some hope. And we got to be that for a season, and it made the difference.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I'm just thinking on the back of that, if young people are listening, or even senior people like myself with children, what type of advice would you give to, let's say, the young entrepreneur who's looking at trying to do something themselves, start their own ventures? Like, what type of person do you look for, or what do you have to be? Who do you have to
Oh,
be?
I don't look for anybody in particular other than someone says that I want to try a new business, or I want to learn something new, or I want to be a part. Like, I don't have criteria that we look for. I believe that
Mm.
everybody deserves a shot at whatever their dream is. And so if we can help you with your dream, that's why we're here. And for
Right.
some people, their dream is to own their own company and be their own boss. For some of our young people, their dream is to, be influencers and YouTubers. And then there's some that are dreaming just to graduate from, high school and make
Right.
it. They want to be alive and graduate from high school. And so whatever that dream is, our goal, our job, our purpose, our intent is to just get them the tools and the resources, the connections they need to achieve their dream. So again, I don't look for any specific criteria other than your heart's beating, you're breathing, and you want to try.
That's a nice starting point. How far beyond your current expansion plans do you look? So I know in doing the reading about your expansion, it takes you through to something like 2026.
Mhm.
Are you looking far beyond that,
Oh,
in terms
certainly,
of vision?
certainly.
Yeah.
That's a fun question, and I'm glad you asked that question. When you get gifted the idea or gifted the ability to have vision,
Mm.
and vision, that is something that I most certainly have. Um, I tell people, they come to the Innovation Factory, but I've been living in the Innovation Factory since 2015.
Right.
So, they're like, "Oh my gosh, are you so excited?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was excited in 2015 when I first saw it." So now you're living in what I've been living in for
Yes.
8 years. And so, yes, I'm technically not in 2024. I'm living in 2028 right now. And again, when I talked about robotics, when I talked about AI, when I talked about things like that, that's where I'm living right now. And
Hmm.
I tell my talent, my staff, they say, "Miss T, isn't this so cool? Isn't this so cool?" And I tell them, I say things to them sometimes. They're like, "Wait, what?" I say, "Well, we already outgrew this space." And they're like, "We just got here." But that's because I can see all these other things that are already presenting themselves, rather quickly, actually, that are
Mm.
already presenting themselves. I said, We're probably going to scale out of this building pretty quickly." And I'm already looking at a 65,000 square foot sports complex.
Wow.
So just, for me, adding more opportunity in more cities and more countries, that's always been my heart's desire. And then, getting my kids a little more accustomed to getting outside of their 10-mile radius so that they can see there's a great big world out there.
Mm.
And, most often the stuff first exists in my imagination and I can see it. But once we step into it, it always opens the door for the bigger, the better, and the more. And so, yes, I haven't been in 2024 for quite some time.
Just to put that in context, 65,000 square feet, that's almost double where you've just moved into, right?
Just about, yeah, but it
Mm,
has what we need to evolve our sports under the auspice of our entertainment programs, because we have a lot of young people that,
mm,
are interested in that. And then it also gives us a live learn campus. So we work with a lot of young people that are in the juvenile justice system.
okay.
Um, and sometimes they come out of their, we don't like to call it jail, we call it boarding school. And so sometimes they graduate from boarding school and don't have any place safe to go. And it feeds
Yeah.
like the homeless population and some of the other things that, are unsavory to communities because they're doing whatever it takes to survive. But this campus will provide us the capacity to be able to house our students, educate our students, give them the extracurricular training in arts, media, and entrepreneurship, and
Mm,
then celebrate them with events and things like that. So, I've been living in that world for, since 2021, 22, with you know, the homeless, challenge that we've been
right.
experiencing
Yes.
globally. But what's the feeder for that? What's the feeder for that? And most often it's kids that age out of foster care and they don't have a place to go. And I said, I think I can help with that. And
Mm,
so again, that's really on the cusp. And that opportunity, someone came to me and they told me pre-COVID, we had this 65,000 square foot campus built on 19 acres. And during COVID, the person who built it died, and it's
mm.
been sitting empty ever since. And so, someone came to me and they heard about what we were doing. They said, "Well, can you do anything with this?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's like saying sick them to a bulldog." Yes, of course we can. Yes. And so we've already walked the site and we started brainstorming concepts and ideas and how we can enrich the lives of young people. And it has everything that we need, from childcare. A lot of our young people have kids at the age
Mm,
of 16 and they can't get real jobs because they don't have a safe place for their children to be cared for. So it
right.
has daycare facilities, a sports complex with showers and locker rooms and a full state-of-the-art gym, media rooms that have, the capacity to house 40 state-of-the-art, computers in one space, theaters, music rooms with lockers for, not just props and equipment, but also the instruments. Again, I can go on and on and on about what's being offered to me. But again, so when you ask me, where are you in the timeline, T, I'm like,
Mm.
way over here. I'm working on the graduation program of our first cohort of live learn students. You know what I mean?
I
The
love
the
it. I
ones
love
that
it.
everybody discounted and said they'll never make it.
Right.
I'm focused on the ceremony that celebrates them because they did make it. That's where I'm at.
Fantastic. Do you, I have to ask, do you have any mentors or role models that have guided you or helped
Yeah.
you through your career?
Yes, I do. There's one in particular that I like to, you know, celebrate and express gratitude for as often as I can. His name is Bill Kraus, and he happened to be a local pastor in a city that I moved to, when I lost everything and was homeless, and I met him.
Mm,
And he had some very strong business savvy. And I would tell him what I'm doing. And for the first time, in my entrepreneurial life, he made me not feel crazy for the bigness of what I was seeing based on who I was at the time.
yeah.
Most often people say, you can't do that, T. You're broke, you don't have this, you grew up
Yeah.
like this. But he never saw me that way. He says, wow, you're a champion. We should go for it. And he would help me along the way. He passed away 2 years ago. 2 years ago tomorrow, he passed
Mm,
away. And but before he transitioned to heaven, he really, really poured deeply into me. And it's anything from business to, people serving. He was very, very good at loving people. And so I learned a lot from him by way of, how to forgive when it's really difficult, how to love when they're not lovely. And sometimes I work with kids that have been through so much trauma that they're just so hard and so angry that, it takes a special kind of love in
mm,
order for them to feel loved. And he helped me learn that. So, when I think of mentorship, he left lots of videos, books and things like that. So I still study, what he's taught me. And my heart desire is to honor him by living what he taught me. And so I try really hard to do that every day. He was an honorable man, and I try to be an honorable woman. He was a man of his word, and I try to be a woman of my word. He was a lover of people and a true, genuine servant. And I try to emulate that every day. So, when I talk about mentorship, he really, truly creased my life. And I
Mm,
hope to show up in the lives of others that way.
mm. If people, and I know you have many people around you that would look to you as a mentor, as a role model, if they're listening, what's the message you would give them?
Never quit is number one. I mean, we live in a time of challenge and extreme change, and it's moment to moment change. And I think that sometimes because of the tumultuousness of the days that we're living in, it's easy for people to tap out. So I would say never quit. Number one is recognize that, what you live, endure, do with your life, it affects other people. And
Right.
if we can remember that our actions impact, if we can remember that our words change, transform, give hope or help or make people, it can open the door for hurt or depression. If we can remember how important we are to the lives of others, that's always my advice when someone asks, how can I be a better business person? How can I build a company that makes a lot of, brings in a lot of resources? Serve people. Serve people and never mind you. I find that when I'm focused on serving others, that I'm always taken care of in the process. And I
Mm,
think a lot of people that take up positions of leadership forget that. And I'm taught that let he who is greatest among you be servant to all. So if you have some level of influence, if you have some level of higher aptitude in any sphere or capacity, that qualifies you to be a public servant. That means you should be serving others
mm.
because you have an added gift, added strength, and added ability.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. Where can people go and connect with you or follow what you're doing or even get engaged with what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. That's easy stuff. Okay, so we have websites, studiotarts.org.
Mhm.
And then I have my personal one, sweetteatime.com. And that's where you'll get a lot of this kind of, advice and how to and stay motivated, things like that. And then we're on all the social media platforms. So Instagram, Studio Tea Arts, Sweet Tea Time, Facebook, YouTube. The handles are pretty much all the same. And then, once you're on the website, we do ask people if you wanted to stay connected, like we send out weekly and monthly newsletters just to kind of keep people abreast because things grow and change so fast around here. We try to keep people in the loop. So I do ask that once you jump on those websites, sign up for the newsletter so you stay in the know, because sometimes we get opportunities that our community and our partners can take advantage of. For example, Chris Brown is coming and doing a concert. We have a group of young people that get to go and experience the concert. And so, but they only know about that because
But
they're on the
not,
newsletter.
not only young people. I like Chris Brown. Come
Yeah,
on.
okay. Our parents say the same thing, but we always get fun opportunities like that just because of the relationships that we have in the industry, and we can only, broadcast it so many ways. And so we figured if you just sign up for the newsletter, we can stay connected and we can give you guys all the opportunities. Like for when the hair shop opened up, we had so many young people, especially kids of color that needed their hair braided for the summer, and they got that free of charge. Normally that's
Mm,
an expense that costs families a lot of money. And some families can't afford to do that, but they got it for free because they were informed because they signed up for our newsletter.
yeah. Fantastic service. Tamara, sorry. Great connecting with you today and really hope that things continue in the same vein as what they have in the last few years, obviously, and the expansion goes well. I'm definitely looking forward to coming to Sacramento. You've
Well, I can't wait. I hope you do. Oh, can I share something else really cool?
please.
I just launched my podcast today.
Really? What's it called?
Yes.
What's it called?
It's called Sweet Tea Time, and it's on
Okay.
Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. So Sweet Tee Time. Yay!
We'll put it in the link, and I'm sure I will definitely be listening. So,
Oh, thank you.
But look, fantastic connecting, wonderful understanding more about what you're doing, and so incredibly inspiring just for me listening to everything that's going on. So wonderful, and all the best for the future.
Thank you. Well, I hope this is not the last time we get to talk.
I'm sure. I'll let you know when I have the ticket booked.
Yeah, okay, I'm ready.
All
Thank
right.
you very much for having me. Thank you very, very much. We're always grateful when we get to connect with like-minded, lighthearted people, and that is who you are. Thank you for making this so easy and fun.
Thank you.
So what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button below and click on the bell icon so I can pop up in your feed occasionally with a great tip for your ultimate growth.